Live video is starting. I think we're live.
Great.
Let's see. And live video. Yes, 5 seconds in. Well, hi everyone. This is the Route 66 Spirit of America's monthly talk. I'm Steve Brant, and there's Marilyn Hudson. And now let me get us both in frame here. Da, 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 da. And look at that wonderful painting by Paula Ackerman behind that says, "Everyone has a story. Share your voice." And isn't that the truth?
That is so true. Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story, not just the professionals you see on TV. And one of the goals of the Route 66 Spirit of America Museum is to help broaden the spectrum of voices, not just subject matter, but all up and down the scale. Men, women, children, I'm tempted to say dogs and cats.
That's right.
Because certainly my cat has a story. But truly, today's focus is kindness, and in today's world, that is a precious commodity that is not as visible as I wish it could be. I'd love to hear from you all, either in the chat or after this is broadcast live, because I want this to be as interactive as possible. Your experience with kindness is critical. It's a part of whether we're going to have more good in our world and less bad, frankly, because there are some people doing bad things and they generate a lot of attention. I was just reading an essay today about how mean stuff gets into a particular part of our brain. I think it was called the lizard brain. And so if you want to make a lot of money and have a lot of followers, that kind of content is like an easy way. But as somebody once said, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. And just because we can make money from being mean doesn't mean we should.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yes. I've got to find out who said that first,
Yeah.
because I like to credit people with their quotes. So literally, today is a day to reflect on the state of kindness, given that the news doesn't have as much as it could. But I also like to remind people that if you know where to look, even the news can help. And my favorite example is CBS Sunday Morning, where they profile people who are doing good things. Some of them are alive, some of them are not. A few years ago, they profiled this wonderful young lady named Samantha Smith from Maine, whose work in the 1980s as a young child, concerned about world peace, caused her to write a letter to the leader of the Soviet Union.
That's right.
And it was a miracle because he wrote her back. I don't think that was expected, but she didn't care whether she was going to get an answer. She just wanted to express herself. And so God bless her for expressing herself and being rewarded for taking that risk by actually getting an answer, which led to her whole family going to the Soviet Union for a 2-week peace trip, because her wish was to meet people who didn't want us to have a nuclear war, which was kind of in the talk back in the early 80s. And who today could write a letter that might make an equal difference? I don't know.
Yeah.
But one of the goals for the museum, not just right now, but in the coming year, is to encourage people to share their voices again, with Paula Ackerman's painting as inspiration, and encourage people to share their voices on things that can basically make things better, because and it doesn't, it can be, again, anything. It can be how we treat our neighbors. It can be how we treat our pets. It can be how we treat tourists. Oh my gosh, next year is going to be this gigantic year for tourism, and what are we going to do when all these wonderful people come here from all over the world? And are we going to just, well, I don't really know what we're going to do.
Right. Yeah.
I'd like us to talk about that. And to be honest, I know there's work out there to celebrate the Route 66 centennial. I'm hearing less about what's going to be done to celebrate America turning 250. But just this week, I connected with the person at the Oklahoma Tourism Agency who is working on America's birthday as opposed to the Route 66 centennial. And she and I are going to talk Monday afternoon by Zoom, and I will know a lot more Monday afternoon than I know now, because I'm again hearing a lot about the centennial, not as much about America's birthday, but it's great that we have this opportunity to celebrate.
That's right. And I think no matter whether it's the road or the country, we all have an opportunity to become real ambassadors of kindness to everyone. So I think we really have a wonderful opportunity coming up.
I agree. And what occurred to me earlier is, while I personally seek out people who are kind, sometimes it's easier than others. I give a lot of credit to my local Methodist church family, where I showed up unannounced in 2021, moving here from another state, and they were like, welcome. And they weren't like, how dare you show up from New York? No, they were like, we were happy you're here. New York. Oh my God. And actually, a bunch of them have been to New York. And so it wasn't like I was from a place that they thought was all evil. Although there is something called the dark underbelly of New York, which might be a talk for another time, because it's a great city, but it, like a lot of places, or even a lot of people, has a dark side.
That's right.
But the kindness I experienced at my local church, the kindness I have experienced in general, has been very beneficial. But the thing that I have also worked on, the best example I can think of was when somebody came into the museum, where one of the exhibits pays tribute to the fact that we went to the moon. And his reaction to seeing the exhibit was, we didn't really do it. It was all done on a Hollywood soundstage, don't you? And I was like, oh, well, that's an interesting point of view. And I summoned the strength of character to just say, if that's what you believe, you're welcome to it. I'm not here to convince you, which was, I was happy I was able to do it. In an earlier time in my life, I might have gotten into an argument with the guy. Don't you know, blah, 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 blah. How can you think that, blah, 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 blah. That wouldn't have made a difference. I think what made a difference, if anything made a difference, was that he experienced being accepted. He didn't say, oh my God, this guy, he challenged me. He saw that I was okay.
That's right.
And so that's me getting in touch with my inner ability to be kind, which partly personal point here, not having a family to, not word practice on is probably the wrong way of characterizing it, but I don't have kids who come home from school having had a bad day, and I get to practice being kind instead of what do you mean you had a bad day? Aren't you better than that? The closest I have is sometimes I have to be kind to my cat because I might be doing something and he's like, I need attention. And I'm like, Inky, please, I'm working. But then eventually I snap out of that and I say, Inky, you're my friend. Yeah. I gotta be good.
Sometimes being kind is, I've seen the book there that you have on the table, Portraits of Courage.
Yes.
And sometimes just being kind to another human being can be one of the most courageous things that people do, because you have to come out of yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have to ignore some circumstances sometimes and just be kind. And sometimes it takes a lot of courage just doing that simple act, but it has rewards. It
does. And as I mentioned, the guy who thought that we never really went to the moon, I think his day was better for his experience here, even though I didn't say, you're right, I'm going to throw this whole display out. No, but we were pleasant to each other. Yeah. And that, not everybody has that experience every day.
That's right.
Yes, just a pleasant experience. Yeah. And speaking of this book, Portraits of Courage, a Commander-in-Chief's Tribute to America's Warriors. This is one of the latest additions to the Route 66 Spirit of America Museum's library, and I am grateful to the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum for hosting a woman who is part of the President George W. Bush Presidential Center. This is the envelope from inside the book where she enclosed a note. Here you go. It was great to meet you in Oklahoma City this month. Thanks for coming to my talk. She was at that Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum, and because I knew she was going to be there, and I love to have autographed books in the museum, I brought the book and I asked her to get it autographed, and she mailed it back, and now it has the official George W. Bush autograph to make the museum's collection that much more exciting.
Yes.
So she, this was an act of kindness on her part. She had to, carry this book back to Texas. It's not a light book. She then had to, mail it back to me. It was a nice moment, and I'm delighted again that the museum's library now has it.
Definitely.
So, do you have any similar experiences to my mentioning the guy saying we never went to the moon? Do you can think of?
Oh, I've had lots of those kinds of experiences.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah, I was, with my background in librarianship, I quite often had to deal with customers that sometimes they'd had a terrible day and they needed somebody to take it out on, It was the kick the dog syndrome, sometimes it was individuals that they had gotten off of their medications.
Oh dear.
And they had no longer the ability to filter or control or monitor what they did, what they said, how they said it.
Wow.
But, with firm training in customer service, we always knew that we had to remain calm and kind. And so you get a lot of practice with that. And sometimes those kind of situations can be such a challenge that you are fighting to control yourself. But in the end, the fact that you can look back and say, I was kind to that individual despite the temptation to slap him up the side of the head.
Yes.
So, it's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for them. It's a good thing for everyone. Kindness is just a wonderful thing that just, oozes in and fills everything. The person who is expressing the kindness, the person who's receiving it, the people who are seeing that kindness in action.
Yes.
That, you may be, the person who's most impacted by an act of kindness may not be either one of the two parties. But it may be somebody who observes that and it may change their way of thinking, because they may think there's nobody kind anymore, but then they see someone in an act of kindness, and they can go away from that experience with a little bit of hope.
Yes, hope.
A little bit of, oh, okay, maybe things are not as bad as I thought they were. So you never know what the outcome of really a simple action on our part to be kind to one another.
Yes, it's a large act of kindness coming up that I know is going to impact a lot of people, which is the Stroud Fire Department, for the second year now, is going to give out free Thanksgiving dinners. I remember last year they cooked a whole lot of turkeys, and a lot of us went to the fire station and came home with a nice to-go box for Thanksgiving. And today there are probably more people than last year who are going to need that kind of help.
And I've been hearing from people all over, not just here in Stroud, but Oklahoma, across several states, that they are planning proactively to gather with friends, combine their resources, and have just a wonderful party.
Oh, really?
A party that says, that we have a lot to be thankful for. This may be a tough time this year, but together we can get through this. And that's a level of kindness that's just really incredible. That's uplifting to see people reaching out and thinking of others and saying, well, how can we make it easier? Just sharing, putting all this stuff together. There's this wonderful old story, Stone Soup.
Oh, I haven't heard that in ages.
Yeah, Stone Soup.
You want to tell the story for people who might not be familiar?
Stone Soup is a wonderful story about these soldiers that are weary. They're trying to get home, and they're so hungry, and they see this woman, and she's around this pot. Then she's just boiling this water, and they're saying, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm making some soup. Well, could we share it? Well, I don't know. It's stone soup. And she said, well, we've got stones. Well, what else do you have? And so digging down in their pockets, one of them brought up this limp, tiny little carrots. And they chopped those up and put them in there. Somebody else brought something else. Somebody else brought something else. And before you knew it, that pot was boiling and filled with little bits of this, little bits of that, little bits of something else that everyone had contributed, and everybody enjoyed a bowl of hot, warm, stone soup. And so I think this may be the year we may be enjoying a lot of stone soup. Well, thinking outside the box and doing what we can instead of focusing on what we can't.
That's a wonderful example. I again hadn't heard that in ages, but those who are under financial distress still have things they can contribute. I wouldn't want the people who are struggling financially to think that they are somehow lesser than, because you can offer all kinds of things that are not about paper money.
That's right.
You can help clean somebody's yard if they're recovering from an injury, or well, I don't need to come up with examples. Other people can come up with examples, but we are so much more than our bank accounts. I guess that's.
And when
what
we start
I'm thinking
with our hearts instead of just with our sense of lack, we can really find some creative ways to reach out and touch each other, and in the same way be touched ourselves. So
yes, and again, America turning 250 next year. I would like, and now I'm trying to remember, was it George H.W. Bush? There was this phrase, a kinder and gentler nation. I don't always like to mention politicians, but just the notion of, as we reflect on America's 250th birthday, and in fact I'm going to be talking to the Oklahoma Museums Association community on a Zoom later this month with my buddy Ken Busby, and the question we're going to ask them is under the topic of museums as visionaries. What would you like America to look like 250 years from now?
Wow.
So if you can imagine, we've been here for 250 years, well, not us personally, but our country, and we are the product of a great vision from 250 years ago. What vision would we like to have today, in this case as museum people, for how America might turn out or might be 250 years from now?
Yeah.
That still won't be the end of America,
but it reaches
but it'll
500 years
it'll
old.
be a whole
America?
new world. And putting aside what might technology look like, I don't always think of the world as what technology do we have. I think of it as what personal qualities do we have. You know, we've progressed from the vision of America, which was brilliant, but not perfectly executed on day one, because they knew it was an experiment, and they knew they didn't have all the answers. And I like to remind people that one of the things they didn't have as an answer was we should automatically let women vote. They were like, you know, we want everybody to have life, liberty, and happiness, but you know, the guys can be in charge. And women can.
We're always products of our culture.
Yes, we're always products of our culture. So eventually women obtained the right to vote, and other things even more recently, like the ability to have their own credit card. And but the point of this is the values that we have been kind of like evolving, and sometimes they take, you know, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because life is not, you know, like it's like a pendulum. But what would we like things to be like 250 years from now? And based on today's topic, it's like, how could kindness influence the path of America over the next decade, 2 decades, ultimately the next, you know, centuries?
That's right.
Because it's character. It's not, again, technology. And again, it's like we have the ability to do things, but does that mean that we should do them? Artificial intelligence can be used to create a kinder experience in life, and I'm reflecting on how I've seen people take old photographs of their family, and they put it into an artificial intelligence product, and all of a sudden they can see their family members brought to life. And you know, they're I saw somebody, I'm a huge Superman fan, and somebody took a clip from the Superman TV show from the 1950s, put it into artificial intelligence, and there was George Reeves rescuing a lady from a bridge, and the AI engine had him carry her off without his TV technology springboard. That was how he used to fly. You know, spoiler alert. It was just AI allowing him to fly, and I was like, boy, that looks awesome. And it wasn't you know, it wasn't insulting, it wasn't cruel. It was a kind gesture towards the fans of an old 50s TV show. So how can we use kindness to move America forward? That's what I'd like us to include in our thoughts.
Yeah, I think.
What would you like to see kindness used, or maybe used isn't the right word, but how do you feel about its potential?
I think the potential for kindness is tremendous, and I think that one of the lessons that we should learn as we move into a future is that we are human beings, and human beings function at their optimum in community.
Oh, wow.
In the small group, the village, the tribe, the family unit. Every instance where we have put together millions and billions of people cramped into small spaces, some of the ultra huge cities of the world.
Yes.
we don't do well. Humans do not flourish in that kind of an environment. We're cramped, we're constrained, we're restricted. The ability of the human soul to fly is kind of boxed in. They're like prisons, I think, for the human spirit. So I think that 250 years from now, I would like to think that we have learned to be kind to ourselves.
Oh, wow.
And give everyone the ability to function and flourish in smaller, more intimate groups and families and communities that make sure that everybody's caring for each other, everybody knows each other, and it brings in the best of what the human spirit can do. Instead of just saying, oh, okay, yeah, if we put 12,000 different rooms in this huge high-rise building, yeah, that'll be great. Nobody will.
Yeah.
But we don't. We're like a hothouse flower. We need a certain type of environment to really flourish as human beings, and that's the ability to have a dream, to work to achieve that dream, to enjoy the fruits of that dream, and to share it with friends and community members and family members that we trust, that also have those kind of values directed back to us as well. So I think that in 250 years, I would like to think that we have learned how to spread out and grow as healthy human beings, kind and careful and caring for each other, with lots of libraries for everybody.
Yes, books. We want books. We want reading. I am reminded, as much as I've told people that my childhood had a lot of traumatic elements to it, one of the positive elements was I was read to. I was encouraged to like books, and when I was old enough, my mother would take me to the public library. I can still visualize it on 83rd Street, Upper West Side. And I don't recall a lot of details, except there was, of course, a children's section with little chairs, the right size for children. And I'm positive I just got lost in the children's section books. One of the reasons why this museum's library includes some children's books is because I want kids to ultimately have resources here. So libraries and books, for sure. In fact, I think here in Stroud, we're going to have some kind of a book discussion group out of our public library, and maybe the museum will help partner on that. And again, if books can help people think in terms of being kind,
That's right.
What a wonderful thing for a book to do. I'm trying to recall the last piece that I had in mind when I was thinking about this talk, because we want people to think outside. We also want people to think inside, like the example of how I responded when the man said we hadn't actually gone to the moon. Having opportunities to be kind, looking for those, and if we can, like the museum again, provide opportunities for people to get together and kind of exercise that muscle. So important to look for things where you, I'm thinking of, even here in Stroud, sports is so important, and I think that the kids who get to participate, and it's not just sports, we've got a wonderful music program, but there are lessons that they learn from being on teams, whether they be sports teams or musical teams, The choir is a team of a kind. The band is a team. They have to work with each other.
That's right.
It's not all about you being the star. It's that the team should be a winning team. And so finding ways where we can work that muscle, that cooperative kindness muscle. Right. Do you have things that you do that help you keep that muscle in shape?
Well, with a lot of things like that, some of the things that I do personally, I do them just to get outside of myself. I will intentionally say, okay, I need to go and do this. I need to send this card. I need to write this letter. I need to remember this person for their birthday or their anniversary or whatever, just as a way for me to show that I'm thinking about them and that there's kindness behind the action. And the same thing happens with children. Whenever I'm out in public with children or children around, I always make sure that I give a smile to a child, because I don't want to be that grumpy old person that frowns and does the prune face imitation. I want them to know that there are people that are pleasant and kind everywhere they go.
That's fantastic.
That's a good thing to know. And helping people who are checking you out, just being kind to them. The people who serve you in restaurants.
Wait staff at restaurants.
Yeah, their job is hard. They have to work on their feet a long time.
They do.
And sometimes their pay is not real good. So giving them a smile doesn't cost you anything.
Doesn't, no.
Yes, and it helps them, it helps you. Because if you smile, that actually is doing something for your own soul, your own spirit. And it just makes it a little bit easier for you to go out and handle your own stresses, your own challenges or whatever, because it's that connection. I remember back in the 70s, 80s, I think it was the late 60s, there was a Russian scientist who defined what he called the Kirlian effect.
What's that?
Well, he found out that if you put your hands together like this, the human body gave off an electrical charge.
Oh.
And he took pictures with a special camera, and he was able to capture this electrical charge around a person's hands.
Wow.
They just kind of glowed around the edges and everything. And if you just held it up like this, you had one size of electrical charge. If you brought another hand, your own or someone else's, closer, suddenly it was extremely bright, extremely powerful. The electrical charge went up tremendously by just the sheer fact that the human body, like all living things, has an electrical field. And when electrical fields meet, they have a tendency to combine rather than compete.
Oh, wow.
And so from that, they began to do a lot of research into things like that. Plants give off those same. They discovered the plants can communicate via an electrical charge to plants that are miles and miles away.
Oh, wow.
So when people get together and get close enough to exchange a hello or a smile, they're actually feeding each other energy. And so to me it was like, that's great. We are all connected as human beings. And so we only get those charges when we interact with other human beings.
That's a wonderful insight.
It's important to be kind to other human beings, because someday you're going to want to recharge too.
Oh, tell me about it. And you now remind me, I was fortunate enough to meet him in person once, but mostly we were on Facebook friend status. His name is Matches Malone, based near Boston, and for years, I don't even know what year he began, he has dressed as Batman in his daily life.
Oh, wow.
And he is in organizations that help him find hospitals with sick children that he can visit. And he's not alone. There are other people who do this dressed as Wonder Woman and other superheroes, but he mostly seems to do it solo, as befits Batman.
Right.
Batman's kind of a solo operator.
He's a loner.
But to see the stories he posts about the children who have, in the time that they have with him, he makes sure that they are smiling and enjoying the fact that they are meeting Batman, and he really wants to give them a positive experience, even if they might be, battling cancer or whatever. And he also goes to the comic conventions where he meets other people who are not necessarily in dire straits, but still, he's always looking to give people a smile to make them think that they've really met Batman. And it's such a pleasure to watch his stories on Facebook.
One of the things that I always loved growing up, I grew up in Kansas, and so it was no strange thing that you'd be driving down a country road or a highway or a street or whatever, and somebody driving a car would have their hand on the steering wheel and they'd give you a wave. And I just saw that as that's normal. That's what people do.
Oh, wow.
We're sailing around in our little isolated car, and here's another one that's sailing around in his isolated car, but you're connecting with that wave.
Oh, wow.
Then I moved as a young married woman to the big city. And then it was kind of like, what are you doing? Why are you waving at me?
Oh. Totally different attitude.
And I learned that not everybody had that experience of having interactions, positive, friendly interactions with total strangers.
With total strangers.
They had fear. They had buffer zones. They had distance between them and people they didn't know.
Very, very interesting.
And so I would love to see us restore that sense of we're not an island, isolated and alone. We're part of a great chain of being that when we pass each other on the street, on the road, wherever, that we are smiling, we're giving that wave, we're acknowledging that, oh, there's another human being. Hi, how are you? And realizing that we're all a part of that great thing called humanity.
Yes,
and
one human family.
We connect with that kindness that you're talking about.
It
doesn't cost anything. It won't put pounds on. It's
That's right. You don't have to spend money to be kind.
That's right.
It's free. It's like someone once said, and here's another quote I can't recall the origin of, but love is not a scarce commodity. If you give love to somebody, you don't have less as a result.
That's right.
It's a very interesting
it's an unending well.
Yeah. I mean, if you give people, a piece of bread, okay, ultimately you're not going to have any bread. But if you give people a smile or a handshake or even a hug or whatever you do, it doesn't diminish your supply or your ability to keep doing that. Well, I should mention that as 2026 approaches, the museum will be organizing not just another series of monthly talks, still to be determined, of course, but also programs that celebrate ideas and people that are champions of ideas. And on the theme of today, this just came in the mail, which is a banner celebrating the work of Fred Rogers. There we go. We are all neighbors. And you see the trolley, and you see the red sweater, and it's a wonderful example of a person who made he is a wonderful example of a person who made being kind literally his life.
That's right.
And again, it didn't matter who you were, what your circumstance was. One of his most famous neighbors was a young boy who was in a wheelchair, motorized. He had very limited physical capabilities, other than, of course, speaking and but the point of that episode of Fred's show was to treat people as humans, not as what you might see first. In other words, the disability might be visual, but the person is a person.
That's right.
And that's much more important than the physical disability or whatever else might grab you when you first see someone. You know, it can be anything. People have lost limbs in war, and some people who are uncomfortable with that, but they're still people. And that kindness that comes from knowing that what you said earlier, we are all part of the human family. That's one of the goals of the museum for next year, is to be a champion of that part of the American spirit. Even though the dark side is out there, it doesn't have to dominate our thinking.
That's right.
If it's on the news too much, turn off the news.
That's right.
Imagine that, not having to watch the news every day. I mean, I loved watching the news when I was a kid, but that was Walter Cronkite, and it was a very different time, and the news was quite different.
That's right.
And so we should be mindful of what is coming at us, that which we have control over, like the news we watch, or the kinds of conversations. Again, you know, if somebody says, "Hey, let's badmouth so and so because fill in the blank," you don't have to.
No.
You can actually say, "I'd rather speak nicely about so and so. You know, go have fun doing what you want to do. Don't hurt anybody, please. But I'm not going to participate in that. I'm going to be kind."
That's right. It's like a few years ago that that phrase, a million points of light, or that kind of thing was being bandied about.
Yes.
And really, that is so true, because each one of us has a light, a positive, bright light. And if we let that light shine, then those dark, depressing, evil thoughts and forces, and those people that are just negative and down, and all those bad things, as we might call them, then if we focus on letting our light shine, then it's going to bring a better tomorrow. So I think that we should polish up our light, make sure it's shining really bright.
I'm with you on that, and it's a great metaphor, because again, Paula Ackerman painted a painting that shows everyone's stories literally as shooting out into the into the heavens, and turning into individual stars. And a little plug for the museum's displays: you can, if you come here, visit with Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and an interactive Yoda who will help teach you to have the light side of the Force be your strength. So I invite those of you who can come to Stroud to visit and hang out with Yoda, who, if you ask him the right questions, he'll actually teach you something. So this is wonderful, Marilyn, as always, and wonderful to have you watching either live or on demand, because of course this is going to be archived, And again, what a wonderful final analogy that we should polish our lights and be the example
That's right.
that we want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Another
Be the kindness
quote.
we want to see.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Enjoyed it.
Thanks all of you.
Take care now, everyone.
Bye. End.